Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everyone, welcome to the program. Jake Scott is our guest. He is a young golf professional chasing the dream. And if we go back to the roots of when we founded this podcast 2 years ago and about 100 episodes ago, he was exactly the kind of person we were looking for. Somebody that could articulate why I'm chasing professional golf, what's involved in it, the good, the bad, the ugly. And as of this recording on January the 8th, he is number 2 on the points list or the player of the year list on the West Florida Golf Tour, has 3 top 10s, including a near miss, almost got it done, but lost in a playoff. He's a native of Illinois. I caddied for him a couple of weeks ago at the concession. So you see how the pipeline for guest work? Guys I caddy for. I didn't like, you want to come on the show? And just about everybody says yes. Jake Scott, our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. Big thanks to our title sponsors, starting with Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. For golfers, by golfers, ready to drink canned cocktail, all that stuff named after times of the day and fish and crustaceans that crawl across the bottom of the ocean. You don't want that anymore. Stop pretending it tastes good. Try a Party. Once you have a Party, especially the transfusion, you'll never go back. The golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com. It's a great time to buy in the Lakewood Ranch area, especially at Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from. And nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene and Vince and Samantha Walsh. By the way, get in contact with them and they'll take care of you. And if all that golf has you tired and you just need a day at the spa, you need a hot tub, cold water plunge, red light therapy, whatever it is, then go to BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. All right, so that's that. Let's bring the man of the hour on board, Jake Scott. What's going on, my man?
Kevin, how are we this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm just trying to be like you, if you really want to know. Play good golf, chase the dream. But I had a good time with you a couple weeks ago when we were together at concession, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But where exactly are you joining us from now?
I am joining you also from Lakewood National Golf Club.
I knew that, but I just wanted you to say that. How long have you been hanging your hat here, using the practice facilities, playing here while you're playing the West Florida Golf Tour and other things, trying to, I guess, ultimately get to the PGA Tour, right?
So, yeah, I mean, always the goal is the PGA Tour. I joined out here as a transfer member in February of 2025 now. So coming up almost on that year mark now. And I love it. This place is phenomenal. Practice facility is everything you could want as an aspiring professional. So, between 2 big putting greens, massive driving range with a bunch of targets, and 2 solid chipping greens, and conditions that are as good as I think you almost can get anywhere in the state of Florida. So I love it here. It's a place I hope to call home for a long, long time.
Well, how is your game? What's the state of your game right now?
My game is at probably the best it's ever been. Maybe not necessarily as a score, low score average type thing, but as an average, it's been very, very good. My ball striking has been very solid. I've learned, kind of in the most recent months, I really got off the tee a whole lot better, which I think, as you know, and anyone knows, once you can get off the tee a little bit better, golf can become a lot easier at times. So that's kind of where the state of the game is. Always looking to still get better and find things and, inch my way towards the rankings of the golf world, I guess, as they say. But no, the game is really solid. I'm finally gaining a whole lot of confidence and just getting things rolling.
Well, I can see how the confidence is growing based on some of the results on the West Florida Golf Tour. Winning would go miles. You had a close call not all that long ago, but it's important maybe sometimes to let some slip away so you learn lessons, as painful as they are. Take me back though. Where are you originally from, and let me feel what life was like where you grew up.
So I'm originally from Springfield, Illinois, which is about right smack in the middle of the state. Really, the only thing around us is a whole lot of cornfields and soybean fields and cow farms and all sorts of things. But we do have some pretty solid golf in Illinois, even in the central part of the state there. But I think, I started playing golf when I think the first time I was ever on a golf course, I was watching my dad qualify in a state am qualifier when I was about 3 weeks old. And then the first time I remember playing golf, I was probably 3.5 or 4 out at a golf course called the Rail Golf Club on kind of the north end of Springfield there. And just grew up there, going out there 2 or 3 nights a week with my dad and just whacking balls. Didn't really care where it went. Didn't have any sort of care. It was just out there to hit a ball far and see how we could do. And then as I grew into, kind of the probably 8 to 10-year-old range is when I really started to play in some tournaments and just kind of got going from there. Always loved playing golf as a competitive sport. I mean, I always thought that that was the true meaning of when they say it's the greatest game ever played, is golf in a competitive fashion is, to me, the greatest thing in the world. I mean, that's the reason why I'm on this journey now, is I missed playing competitive golf, say like I did in high school. High school golf can be a very challenging, fun time, but I think that's just really it. I grew up I never really took it super serious when I was a kid. I was always there more to have a good time with my friends, but the good times always came a little bit better when you were playing better.
Yeah, good golf is just, you feel a lot better. And sometimes your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself as a person and life you get a little too close to the sun. I know that from experience. Like when I played bad golf, I thought I was a bad person. I mean, which is ridiculous.
I mean, it's like I tell everyone, I think my favorite thing in the world is good golf, but my least favorite is bad golf. So,
and the people that say, well, a bad day on the golf course is better than a good day at the office. Get the hell out of here with that.
I agree with that 100%. Especially when you get in my shoes now, where a bad day of golf costs you a whole lot of money. So,
yes. It's just, I don't see any fun in a bad day of golf. It's
I couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah. So
I'd have to be on a special piece of property for a bad day of golf to be a good time.
Yeah, maybe like Augusta National. If I had, I would make sure I had a good day, even if I play terrible golf, because I'd be so happy to be there. But in general,
I'd be so elated at Augusta, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, you and me both. So I enjoyed caddying for you at Concession. How bad of a caddy was I?
Not at all. You were a great caddy. I don't think I ever got a bad read or a bad judgment off a tee box, or I never had a wrong number. That's for sure. I was pin high or near pin high on every shot. I never had a wrong layup. So I would never consider you a bad caddy. I'd put you in the good category before I'd put you in the bad category.
You're being nice. I missed a couple of reads, but that's part of it too. I mean, you miss reads on your own.
Misreads are okay.
Right.
We can accept misreads. It's the bad strokes and the bad putts that are harder to accept.
Exactly, because that's on us. I mean, reading putts, it really comes down to it's a lot of guesswork based on what you see, but you don't have solid evidence. It's just like, the greens over here, slopes doing this, and those greens that can set, they're about the hardest.
They're crazy. I mean, I had some putts I thought was moving one way that went the completely opposite, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes, and I know I saved you on a couple ones there.
Yes, you did. 100%.
Most of the guys that I talk to, they went to college somewhere during the college journey. They're like, okay, this is just my springboard to professional golf. You had a different way into professional golf, and college was not for you. Help me out with this.
Yeah, college was never, I mean, I don't think it was never really, I guess, out of the question, but it was never, even when I was sophomore, junior in high school, being from Central Illinois, I was big into kind of racing at the time. I had some buddies that were big into like dirt track racing that kind of went on to NASCAR ranks. So I would just, for 2 or 3 years after high school, I followed that. I traveled pretty much from New York to California, anywhere in between, kind of going racing. And then, kind of when I got burned out on the racing side of things, I had a couple of buddies that owned some pretty big farms in Illinois, and I just kind of worked for them. And as I was working for them, as you know, in a farm up in Illinois, there's not a whole lot to do in the summer. So I'd end up playing quite a bit of golf. And I think I was 22 at the time, 23. I would play in the summer probably 4 to 8 times a month, and got to like a +4 handicap, and came to play at my dad's member guest at Waterleaf here up the road. And he saw that I was playing to a +4 handicap, and he was like, "What are we doing?" He was like, "How are you a +4 handicap?" And it's not that I would necessarily ever shoot anything 60. At the time, I never had shot 64, 5, even 66. Everything would just be 67 to 74, and would never kind of reach that because there was really not a whole lot of care. I was just out there to play golf and have a good time with my friends, and would just be happy to play some really good golf while doing it. And that was kind of where I really got my love back for the game. And then, as you know, it's an expensive journey. So, thanks to my dad, I'm one of the grateful ones that has him in my back pocket. He wanted to see how far I could take it, and I was all on board for that. So I think starting 2026 now, so I've been 2022, 2023, I came down in April or May and just started playing some AM golf for a year or so down here, just kind of figuring it out, playing some local events, just figuring out, for one, how to play Florida golf, because as you know, Florida golf can be a whole different monster than up north golf with Bermuda and grain and just how it plays. So I spent a year or two doing that. And then I started traveling back up to Illinois in the summers, still as an AM, and would just playing like state AMs, and then would try and go do all of the big, as they say, elite AM events. Like I would go do the Southern AM qualifier, the Dogwood in Atlanta, would go try and qualify for that. Would obviously do like the Illinois State AM, would go down to St. Louis and do all of the Metropolitan MAGA Golf Association. I'm playing all their amateur events. And then this, it was spring of 2025, I officially turned professional.
So that was all like ramp up for the pro thing. And was there just a burning inside of you, or you're just like, this is where I can put all my passion, and working on the farm was just, you had enough of that? Tell me. That
was pretty much 100% it. I mean, I was tired of working, on the farm. In the fall, you work, 80, 90, 100-hour work weeks. In the spring and the fall, depending on how crazy you want to go. And, there was an itch in the back of my mind at all times. It's like, man, if I could ever put this amount of effort to golf, I wonder how good I could actually get. And I finally had that conversation with my dad and laid it all out, and he couldn't have been any more on board, and still couldn't be any more on board today. I mean, he's my biggest supporter without a question. So when that all came to fruition, he was like, let's do it. And I think, deep down, it was something he always wanted to do and never had the opportunity to do himself. He was a pretty solid golfer, pretty much his whole entire life, and still is. So I think I'm living a little bit through his shoes in just a little bit of ways.
Okay, of course. We vicariously live through our children. We all do. Absolutely. I mean, I felt that with my dad. I think he wanted me to do more with golf than I wanted to, but ultimately he let me follow other dreams, and so I went into broadcasting, and it turned out to be a very solid, mediocre career. Yeah, but we scratched that itch, so we knew what that was all about. Jake Scott is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizicaro and Samantha Walsh, suncoastdreams.com. If you're looking for property in the greater Sarasota area, no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club and other surrounding communities, and no better golf real estate pros. Then Gene, Vince, and Samantha. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. Party is distributed exclusively by Paradise Craft Distributors. If you don't have it at your golf course, get in touch with the professional staff and say, we want Party there. We're tired of the other stuff, and they will get you set up. And if all that golf has you tired, check out BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. So you described yourself to me as a late bloomer. You turned pro later than most people turn pro, but a growth spurt had something to do with it. How small were you, and then how quickly did you get big and long off the tee?
So when I was, up in Illinois, we only had fall golf. We never had spring golf. My senior year, I think I started the year probably 5'8", 5'9", at best. And by the time I graduated, I was close to 6 foot, 6'1", and I didn't really finish growing until the end of that summer. And I went from carrying the ball 260, 265 on a good day to could really, pump it 290, 295 in the air when I really was trying. And that was kind of the big triumph of like, okay, this is really how you start to score a little bit. Is it's a whole lot easier having, wedges to 7-irons in than it was 7-irons to hybrids and the greens from par 4s and even par 5s and even the longer par 3s. I mean, there's some par 3s, like, as you know, here at National that are extremely long. Well, when you're only hitting at 265 with a driver, it's really hard to stand up on some par 3s and have to commit to hitting driver or 3-wood. So once I learned, once I got to, I think now I'm 6'2", once I started to just grow after high school, that's when I really started to hit the ball a lot farther. And it's kind of funny because it kind of runs along the lines of my whole entire male side of the family. My dad was a late bloomer. All of my uncles were late bloomers in high school. I think my brother was one of the first ones that actually grew to his full height before he got his diploma in high school. So it's kind of funny how that worked out in my way too.
Well, tell me about, were there any welcome to pro golf moments where you're like, okay, it's a little different than amateur golf?
I've had a few of them. I think the first one was actually not even in a tournament. Shout out to my good buddy, Mike Visaki. I was playing with him one day and a couple other buddies, and we were just playing a local have fun match. And I was playing really good that day, or so I thought. And I think I shot 68 and lost by 5. And that was my first eye-opening event to like, oh, this is how it is. And it's just, and then as some of those guys are, there's just so hum with it that it's just comical. And that was my first real eye-opening. And then the next couple were, one of them was at a Monday qualifier for a Korn Ferry event. I think it was maybe the second Monday I ever did. The kid I shot with shot 63 to qualify. And it was the most impressive golf I'd ever watched because I don't think he missed a fairway or green all day and shot 63. And I was like, oh, and he got in on the number. And I'm like, oh, this is what it takes to get to that level. And then there's even been some, on the local level of the mini tours where, you kind of feel like you play pretty good. And if you're not a leaderboard checker and you come in and you shoot 5 under and you lose by 4, 3, and it's like, wow, these guys are that good. Or you get some of these crazy days that are winds blowing 30 miles an hour and they still figure out how to shoot 8 under par. And I think I had one of those days at the Ritz when I first was getting going where I shot 75 and was just like, yeah, I played really well for myself today. And I think I lost by 9 and was, 6 shots away from being in the money. And I was like, holy cow, this is what pro golf is. And I'm still an amateur at this point. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. And it wasn't, I don't know that obviously we've all had the doubts and we've all had the question on whether we can do it or whether we can compete with that. But it was always for me more of a how more than it is like a how can I. It's more of a like, how do they do it all the time, week after week? Some of those guys are just crazy. They just know how to go low. And that's, to me, one of the hardest things in golf.
Yes. I mean, you have to go low. You just can't unless you're playing the U.S. Open, you can't string together a bunch of 68s. I mean, you got to get the 63 or 64 in there, 72 hole event. But in events you're playing like 1 days or like 36 hole events, there's got to be a low one in there. When you saw like what Big Mike Fasaki can do, and he's a past guest here on Part Tea Time, My Golf Story. Great. I mean, what a guy.
Incredible human.
But did you see like what was the difference? I mean, were they doing something you weren't doing, or was it an attitude thing? Did you flip a switch?
A lot of it, yeah. I mean, it was just like, I mean, I remember working out with Mike one time down at Tyler Hosey's place a couple years ago, and I was just overhearing a conversation about, you know, who's the best golfer in Florida, and you know, Mike just stood up without a question and was like, "Yeah, I'm the best golfer in Florida. I'll put it up against anybody." And that kind of made me recognize some things of like, okay, he understands how good he is or how good he can be at times. And I don't think I ever took in full wrath of how good my good is. You know, as you know, once you get to this level, everyone's good is pretty much as good as the next guy's. It's just who can keep it good consistently. So it was a little bit was mental and just believing in myself and believing in the shots that I was trying to hit. That was the one thing that I noticed was the commitment level to each shot was out of this world. I mean, it just didn't matter. Once they got the club in their hand, that was the shot they were hitting. And very rarely do I ever see those guys go back and grab a different club unless it's, you know, something kind of, you know, wind changes or something drastic happens or they're completely changing the shot. And then the other thing I think as any pro would say is you got to make your putts from 10, 12 foot and in. Once you start making all your, you know, 8, 10, 12 footers, that goes a long way besides score. You know, it goes with confidence. You know, if you make a 12 footer, you feel a whole lot better standing up on that next tee to hit a driver down the middle of the fairway. You know, just the comfort level of that. And then once you start seeing a few of those go in, then some of the longer ones go in, and you know, so to say, maybe the 4 to 6 footers get a whole lot easier. And that was the big thing, was just they made a lot more putts than I made. They strategized each shot more than I did, and they believed in themselves way more than I did. And once I started to see that, I started to kind of grow and feed off that myself in the sense of, okay, well, you're hitting the same shots these guys are. Why are you not believing it like they do? And just a sense of, and then same with putts, you know, it got to the point where it's like, why has made practice putts as they do? I make as many on the practice green. Why do they make more in the putting ground in the round? Well, it's time to start doing that. And then once I started to really kind of get that is when I turned pro and then really started to take my game, as I would say, to the next level of being able to compete with, you know, all the guys on the mini tour level.
Well, I think the one thing that Mike will tell you, and a past guest, two-time past guest, Kyle Rhodes will tell you, Kyle has a 59 in competition under his belt, a 58 social round. The 59 that he shot, there was a massive rain delay, and he knew he was hot, and they were inside for like an hour and a half, and I think he may have called his dad like during the break and everything. And he said, I'm just going to keep it going. All right, I'm going to keep it going. And he closed the deal. And when you got the hot hand, you got to play the hot hand. It's like you don't protect that. Well, I'm 7 under. Let's just get it in the house. I mean, you might need to be 9 under, 10 under on the round.
Yeah, I mean, especially once you get like the Corn Ferry Monday qualifier stuff. I mean,
right.
I think the average for the year is like 63.8 to get through the Mondays. So that means that sometimes it's 62, sometimes it's 64, sometimes it's 65. But yeah, you can't, once you got the hot hands and you got your foot just flat on the floor, pedal to the metal, there's why lift. Keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't made any mistakes so far. If you keep believing and keep, the same thought process and same routine that you got going, I don't see why you'd start making mistakes now. So yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people misunderstand that and think that, everyone's trying to start guarding things, and you just keep playing your game.
I'm wondering,
and that's when golf's fun.
Your racing experience. Do you see some similarities between racing and golf?
Absolutely. There's a lot more similarities than people think. A lot of it more on the mental side. I mean, I got a couple buddies that race at a pretty high level, and when their confidence is up and I talk to them on the phone, I can tell within the next couple of weeks that they're going to go win a race. And, it's kind of the same with a golfer. I mean, someone like Mike or Kyle, when they tell you their game's on, as another pro, you're like, oh, well, all right, here we go, I guess, because you just know how good they could be. And so there's a lot of similarities in that side. And then there's also a side of, when they're actually on the track, when their race cars are really good and they know that they can come up through the field, so to say. They're not gonna lift off the gas to, limp it home or try and finish third. They're gonna go try and win the race. And I think golf's the same aspect of, you got to understand what you're working with that day and take it to the best of that ability, because you never show up really with your A game in golf. That's kind of a once in a blue moon thing. It's who can make their C game be as good as everybody's A game.
Yes, but when you have your A game, if you can make it an A+ game that day, because if you got the hot hand, get the 10 birdies out in the round, because you might not have it tomorrow. So get it while the getting's good.
That's it. I mean, as you know, I think as much as anyone, you can have the best hands of the day one day and show up the next, and it can be almost pretty much gone. And that's kind of, I think, one of the things that brings everyone back to golf all the time is you can never get it perfect.
Yeah, the humbling nature. Well, I've had those rounds like within the same round. I'm deep under par on the front nine, back nine, I can't break an egg, and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
You watched, that was kind of my round of concession.
Right,
didn't get anything together on the front and snapped it together on the back and got it going for a minute. So
and then you settled in. But concession will do that to you. I think some of it, they're just kind of in awe of being at the place, and they maybe give it a little too much respect instead of just saying, look, the golf course doesn't know it's me. It doesn't have a soul. Just play golf. I mean, that's probably your best shot. Yeah, would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. That was me there. I mean, when I first got there, I couldn't get anything going to the front because I was so excited just to be there. I mean, I'd pretty much waited, I think, 8 years to finally get an invite out there. And when I got it, I was so excited and just couldn't even, I was so in awe of the golf course that I was like, man, this is crazy that I didn't even think of, that's just a golf course.
Yeah, I felt that way.
In the end, that's all it is. It's just a golf course.
Golf course doesn't know you're there. It has no idea. And if you got a hot hand, it's not like you're violating the golf gods and stealing. All right. Nope. Pillage and plunder wherever you are. Yes.
They've beat you up enough that you deserve to take it from them at times.
Exactly. It's like the golf course thinks nothing of hosing you. So just hose it right back. Just get
exactly. It doesn't feel bad when it hoses you, so there's no reason you should feel bad for hosing it.
Exactly. That's a pro golfer's mind thinking there. But you said you hated the game at times. Can you take me there? When did it get sideways and you just said...
I mean, like I said earlier, my favorite thing in the world is bad golf, and my favorite thing in the world is good golf, and my least favorite thing is bad golf. There's never been... I don't know if I've ever truthfully 100% hated the game, but there's always been, you're always going to have some sort of hatred towards it in some sort of sense. I mean, it's anything that you love and anything that you do for a living, you have to kind of hate it to a certain extent on some days, because I think that's just how it keeps you humble. But I think my biggest experience was probably 2 summers ago of just hating the game. I just couldn't get any confidence, couldn't get anything going, was just shooting 77 to 82 in like every event, and would just leave every event in doubt and would show up with doubt. And I think that was my biggest moment of hatred towards the game. I mean, I remember one point that I had left the Western Am qualifier up in Chicago, and on the way home, I pretty much told myself that I was quitting this journey before I ever really, I never even turned pro at that point. I was kind of quitting the journey before I ever got started, and went and worked harvest for my farm buddy for about 2 or 3 months before I kind of settled back in and was like, all right, I need to get back to golf. This isn't it. Yeah.
The struggles on the golf course are a little better than struggles of baling hay.
Oh, 100%. 100%. When it's 10 degrees out and you're throwing bales or shoveling corn or, driving a semi when it's 10 degrees out and having to do all that stuff, it's not a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, How long will you chase it? I ask this of a lot of guys that are chasing the dream. Have you given yourself like a deadline?
No. Chase it till you make it. I mean, you either make it or I don't know. I think the world works in wonderful ways of I'll know if I'm not there and, say it's 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, however long it is, there'll be something in life that pops up or changes that says, okay, it's time to go a different direction. But, my grandpa and everyone that I've always talked to is like, you don't always necessarily put a plan B together, because once you start putting a plan B together, that's kind of the plan that ends up happening. If you just stick to plan A and only think of plan A will 9 out of 10 times work. And in this profession, it might be a whole lot different, but I'm going to chase it until I have no desire to chase it anymore. And that's kind of my thought. And as long as, obviously I can have some backing with helping that, or, play good enough to keep affording it myself, then that'll be a whole different, that's a whole different topic. But as a wanting to play, as a addict of this game, as I like to say, I will chase it until I'm not allowed to chase it anymore. I can't get enough of this stuff, so it'll be hard to run me off.
I like that. That's the burn you need. You really need it. And I've seen, having covered professional sports for many years, I've heard a lot of guys, retired guys, say, just keep playing until they tell you can't play anymore, or your body will tell you that. Because there's nothing better. You know what I mean?
No,
They're really,
not.
I
asked Christian Bartolacci, the head guy of the West Florida Tour, one time. I said, Christian, who are the guys that make it? And he looked at me and he goes, the guys that keep showing up. Guys that keep showing up and keep trying and just don't ever give up. Those are the guys that make it. There's always going to be those fluke guys that just are, an 18-year-old phenom that make it. But, when it comes to the realistic side of golf, those are the less of the numbers. More of the guys that make it are the people through my age that have been grinding for, 6 years as a pro and then finally get their status. So, it's a grind. You just keep grinding.
Well, love the grind. And now that I know you live in the backyard here, I actually practiced late this afternoon. I was looking for you, but maybe you're getting ready.
I was probably on Commander. I think I finished at about 5 o'clock on Commander. Okay,
yeah, that's right about when I was starting. So our paths will cross. We got to make the time and play golf and just talk some more golf. Jake, all the best to you. Keep chasing that dream. All right, and I like your grandpa's advice. Don't have a plan B, because then you fall back into it. It's the same with anything. Same with love and everything. Go all in. Do not have backup plans. Go all in with what you got, and then it means more to you as you're going through the growing pains. All right.
That's it. I appreciate it, Kevin.
All right. Jake Scott is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Looking for an alternative on the golf course? Try Party. The golf real estate pros at suncoastdreams.com. Vince Vizzacaro, Gene Walsh, and Samantha Walsh. Great time to buy in the Lakewood Ranch area, and they got you covered. And if all that golf has you tired, Jake Scott, after a long practice session, if you need a little treatment at BioLit Spa, you go to BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. For Jake Scott, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.